You don't remember when it began, do you? Not really. It wasn't one tragedy, not a breakup, not a breakdown. It was slower than that, like fog rolling in beneath the cracks of your life. At first, it was just a dull ache in your chest. Then came the silence between thoughts, louder than any noise. The things you used to love, they felt distant. The world kept moving, people kept talking, and you kept nodding. But inside, you were fading. You called it depression. Most people do. But what if it's not? What if this isn't your end, but your initiation? Carl Jung spent 6 years drowning in this same abyss. He didn't label it a breakdown. He called it a descent into the self. And from that descent came his most sacred, dangerous, and haunting creation, the Red Book, a book he never wanted published while alive, a book of madness, symbols, gods, shadows, and most importantly, a message for people exactly like you. You're not broken. You're not failing. You're awakening. And let's be clear, this isn't New Age fluff. This is a psychological rebirth, an exorcism of the false self. Right now you feel numb, your passion gone. You wake up tired. You don't care about the dreams you once chased. People ask you what's wrong, and you have no words. You cry in silence, then wear strength like a mask. But here's what Jung uncovered in that darkness. Depression isn't always dysfunction. Sometimes it's the soul pulling away from a life it no longer recognizes as real. You're not malfunctioning. You're being summoned, dragged into the depths of your own unconscious. And like Jung, you're not meant to escape it. You're meant to be transformed by it. The Red Book wasn't just a journal. It was a map, a record of what happens when someone stops pretending and starts listening to the buried voices within. Jung called this his confrontation with the unconscious. He saw visions. He heard voices. He met beings inside himself who tore apart everything. He thought he was, and in that chaos, he didn't find insanity. He found truth. So let me ask you, what if the reason you feel so empty is because the person you've been pretending to be has finally gone silent? What if your depression isn't a chemical imbalance, but a spiritual one? What if the goals you chased, the titles you wore, were never really yours, and now your soul is done playing along? This isn't dysfunction. This is a revolt of the soul. Jung once said, people will do anything, no matter how absurd, to avoid facing their own soul, but not you, because if you're here, you're already beginning to understand. This pain isn't random. It's a signal, a message, not just about your past, but about the false self you've grown addicted to. Let me give you a metaphor Jung would have loved. You're in a house. Every room is filled with people. You've smiled for them, played roles, maintained peace, but now you've stepped into the basement. It's cold, dim, you're alone. This is where most run back upstairs, back to noise, comfort, distraction. But if you sit in that stillness long enough, you'll hear something. A whisper, not from outside, but from somewhere deep within. I've been waiting for you. That voice. It's the real you, the one you buried, the one who never wanted to be perfect, just whole. The Red Book is what happened when Jung didn't run. He stayed. He sat in the shadows. And while the answers didn't come quickly, what did come was his soul. So what does this mean for you? Maybe you don't need to numb this with medication. Maybe you don't need to snap out of it. Maybe you don't need to fix yourself. Maybe you need to descend. Let the old version of you dissolve. Sit in the silence until the truth speaks. This is the reason this video exists. To flip the script on everything you've been told about your depression. You're not weak. You're not lazy. You're not doomed. You are being summoned by something older than your trauma, older than your mind, older than your identity. And if you have the courage to enter it fully, you won't come back the same. But that's exactly the point. So I'll ask again, what if you're not depressed? What if this is the first time you're hearing the voice you've been running from your entire life? And what if that voice is you? You think this darkness is personal, your burden, your shame. But what if I told you this feeling was never a diagnosis? It was a door Carl Jung walked through when he let go of who he was supposed to be, what he was taught to believe, even his sanity. The Red Book wasn't his escape from darkness. It was his encounter with it, his communion with the parts of himself he had ignored for too long. Let's break the illusion. Modern culture has sterilized depression, reduced it to serotonin and symptoms, buzzwords like self-care. But Jung knew a deeper truth. The sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of being. He believed the soul didn't vanish because it was sick. It vanished because it was tired of being ignored. So, what did Jung do? He didn't fix it. He followed it into visions, symbols, mythology, madness. The Red Book chronicled his journey through the deepest parts of the collective unconscious: serpents, towers, divine mothers, gods of war, a symbolic realm older than logic, older than language, and in it he found truths, not delusions. He met Philemon, a wise inner guide, not real, but deeply true. A symbol of the voice that waits for us in silence, he met the Red One, a dark, seductive force. Not evil, just buried desire and rage. Jung didn't fight these visions. He listened, because they weren't hallucinations. They were fragments of himself, parts he had disowned. And here's the truth. Depression, in Jung's eyes, isn't the absence of happiness. It's the invasion of truth. Truth about the friendships you kept out of fear, the dreams you chased out of obligation, the identities you wore just to feel safe. So, the soul rebels. But its rebellion doesn't scream. It numbs. It detaches. It shuts down the surface so you'll go within. This is why the Red Book matters to you. Because Jung stopped pathologizing the unconscious. He started decoding it. He treated it like a language, made of dreams, symbols, emotions that logic cannot explain. What you call depression, Jung called initiation, a psychic death. And like all deaths, it's chaotic. You lose your focus, your identity, your social mask. But beneath that collapse, something sacred begins to stir. A real self, unafraid, unapologetic. Let's be honest. This transformation doesn't look inspiring. It looks like falling apart. You cry for no reason. You isolate. You lose desire. You feel lost, empty, even spiritually sick. But Jung said, there is no coming to consciousness without pain, because becoming whole requires sacrifice. You give up being liked to be real, being understood, to be honest, being comfortable, to be alive. The hidden truth? Depression is just the label society gives to a soul that's undergoing radical transformation. But here's why that scares the world. A person who's awakened can't be manipulated. They stop chasing approval. They stop settling for false love. They see clearly. They walk away. That's what the Red Book gave Jung. Not just visions, but freedom. So if your old life feels like it's dying, if you can't pretend anymore, if you feel like you're losing your mind, don't panic. You're not falling apart. You're finally becoming who you were always meant to be. You're not depressed. You're awakening. You're just beginning to wake up inside a life that was never meant to contain your soul. And that pain you feel, that pressure, it's not weakness. It's your soul expanding, outgrowing a life that has become too small. It's the sound of your inner world cracking open. It's your unconscious rising up and screaming, this is not it. Become more. This isn't depression. This is the beginning of your awakening. But no one ever tells you what comes after the awakening starts. They talk about healing, about peace, about becoming whole. But they don't tell you about the part where you feel like you're dying, not physically, but spiritually. Because when the pretending stops, when the soul begins pulling you inward, when the noise of the world fades and you're left alone. With silence, it's not peace you feel first. It's grief. It's loss. It's disorientation. You lose your taste for what once obsessed you. You stop relating to people you used to laugh with, Familiar places feel foreign. Music you once loved now feels empty. Your ambitions crumble in your hands. You don't know who you are anymore, and it terrifies you. But this is the only way forward. Carl Jung knew this intimately. In his Red Book, he revealed that enlightenment doesn't come by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And that darkness? It's not out there. It's you. It's the version of you buried so you could be accepted, liked, safe. Here's what happens when your soul finally wakes up. Your relationships begin to collapse, not in a dramatic explosion, but slowly, like bridges crumbling under weight they were never meant to carry. Conversations start to feel hollow. You notice how you were always the one listening, always the one fixing, always the one bending. And then, one day, you stop. You stop texting first. Stop laughing just to keep the peace. Stop holding together friendships that are already dead. And when you do, people call you distant, cold, changed. And they're right. You are. You finally stopped pretending. You begin grieving the person you used to be. Yes, grief, because that version of you, the people pleaser, the overachiever, the perfectionist, the quiet one, they were all survival masks. They hurt you, yes. But they also protected you. They helped you navigate a world that rewarded obedience, not authenticity. So, when you take off the mask, don't be surprised if you feel hollow. That emptiness isn't the end. It's a sacred beginning, an empty space where something real can finally take root. You experience emotional whiplash. One moment peace, next moment rage, then tears, then numbness, then a strange clarity, followed by despair. You think you're breaking. But Jung would say this is exactly right. As the unconscious rises, it brings with it everything: the childhood wounds, the shame, the rage, the fantasies you were too afraid to admit. They don't rise to destroy you. They rise to be seen. Until then, they ruled your life from the shadows. Now they're surfacing. It's chaos, but it's necessary chaos. You lose interest in external validation. Followers, applause, approval. It all starts to feel hollow. You post something meaningful. No one reacts, and it no longer ruins your day. You speak your truth, and if others misunderstand, you let them, because you realize approval was the drug that kept your true self sedated. And now that you've detoxed, you've fallen in love with something else. Silence, solitude, self-respect. You become a mirror. And this is the part no one warns you about. Your presence alone starts to trigger people. Not because you're doing anything wrong, but because your authenticity reflects back everything they've been hiding. You speak calmly. They feel judged. You set boundaries. They feel abandoned. You express truth. They feel exposed. You become a mirror, and not everyone is ready to see their reflection. But that's not your burden to carry. Jung's awakening led him to this exact place. Isolation, vision, inner conflict, freedom. He lost friends. He was called mad. Even fellow psychologists distanced themselves from him, but he couldn't go back. Because once you've seen your soul, you can't unsee it. And once you've tasted truth, you can never trade it for comfort again. Let's be real. This phase can last weeks, months, years. There's no clear timeline, but it always leads to one thing: truth. And truth doesn't care about comfort. It comes with fire, but it leaves you with clarity. You won't feel happy all the time, but you'll feel real. And that's a kind of joy no smile can fake. So if you're in the dark, in the ache, in the confusion, you are not alone. You are not broken. You are not dying. You are shifting. The old you, the mask, the performance, the illusion, is breaking. Let it. Because something sacred is forming beneath the rubble. You've lost the people. You've lost the identity. You've lost the energy. Now what? You're not the person you were. But you're not yet the person you're becoming. You're in the in-between. And that is the most important place of all. This is where your new self is forged, not through force, not through affirmations, but through surrender. Let's be clear. Breaking free isn't about escape. It's about integration. If you run from the pain, you'll recreate it in new disguises. If you deny the shadow, it will return as addiction, toxic love, or hollow success. If you avoid the descent, you stay half awake your entire life. Carl Jung didn't become powerful by avoiding madness. He became powerful because he walked into it consciously. And when he came back, he didn't return with theories. He returned with fire. So here's the real path to freedom. Let go of the need to be understood. You've spent your life explaining yourself to parents, friends, society. No more. You weren't born to be understood. You were born to be whole. Being misunderstood is the price of authenticity. Let them talk. You keep walking. Accept that you are not who you thought you were. Your old identity was built in trauma, in survival, in projection. You thought you were strong because you didn't cry, kind because you never said no, healed because you stayed busy. Now you see it wasn't strength, it was compensation. Let that version of you rest. Thank them, bury them, walk forward. Build a ritual around your silence. Jung didn't just think, he listened, he journaled, he painted, he walked, he sat with silence like it was sacred. Do the same. Don't escape. Enter it, let it speak. Let it show you truths your mind was too loud to hear. Silence isn't empty. It's full of everything the world tried to drown out. Write a new inner code. When the old world breaks, don't rebuild the same thing. Build something different. Something like, I no longer trade authenticity for acceptance. I no longer chase what makes me feel empty. I protect my peace like it's sacred, because it is. I walk away without guilt. I stop explaining my worth. It is self-evident. I give love, but I never beg for it. Let this code anchor you, because the world will try to pull you back. When it does, your new self will smile and say, I don't live there anymore. Bayim. Transcend the label of depression. You are not your diagnosis. You are not your pain. You are not a victim of your chemistry. That doesn't mean your suffering isn't real. It means it's deeper than that. Jung didn't treat depression as an end. He saw it as a soul state, a descent, a sacred preparation for rebirth. So no, you're not going back to who you were. They were never really you. Now, you move forward, not out of fear, but out of clarity. You say no without guilt. You leave when the room drains you. You rest before you burn out. You stop performing for love. You let silence speak for you. You no longer need the world to make you feel real. You've remembered you were always real. This is not about becoming someone new. It's about removing everything that was never you. That's what Jung did. And when he came back from his inner hell, he didn't just write theories. He changed psychology. He changed history, because he dared to face what most run from himself. And you have that same power. But it won't come through struggle. It comes through surrender, through sitting in your own fire long enough to finally realize you were never broken. You were just buried. And now you rise, not perfectly, but truthfully, not with smiles, but with sight, not to impress, but simply to exist. You'll lose people. Let them go. You'll question yourself. Keep walking. You'll feel alone, but in that loneliness, you'll meet the only person who truly matters. You, the one who didn't run, the one who stayed, the one who breathed through the silence, the one who walked through the fire, and now that you've seen the truth, you'll never trade it for comfort again. So here it is, the final echo, the sacred line that lives in every soul brave enough to descend and return. You are not depressed. You are remembering who you are, and you're not finished. You're just getting started.